We were suckered into that war merely so that the Zionists of the world could obtain Palestine.
The struggle for sovereignty over the land of Israel.
And the United States will recognize Israeli sovereignty over the territory.
That which the palmer worm hath left hath the locust eaten, and that which the locust hath left hath the canker worm eaten, and that which the canker worm hath left hath the caterpillar eaten. For a nation is come up upon my land, strong and without number, whose teeth are the teeth of a lion, and he hath the cheek teeth of a great lion. He hath laid my vine waste, and barked my fig tree. He hath made it clean bare, and cast it away. The branches thereof are made white.
Gentiles. We ask a word of wisdom from our Heavenly Father in Yeshua's name. The time of the Gentiles is portrayed in the statue of Daniel, and it specifically applies to those who have ruled over the nation or the area of Jerusalem and Israel. So when Daniel gave this prophecy, he started with the king of Babylon, which was the golden head of the statue. But since these portray the kingdoms that would exist from that point and forward, the statue actually does not stand until the feet of the statue come to pass. The statue would be sideways with laying on the ground, and it still pertains to those who ruled over Jerusalem or Israel from the time of the king of Babylon all the way until the end when the Antichrist reigns, which is the 10-toed kingdom. But before 1948, there was no feet to this statue. So it is not standing up. And you will see this in prophecy in Daniel chapter 7, how it gets feet in Daniel chapter 7. So when we look in Daniel chapter 4, this is the passage where the king of Babylon was given the judgment that his heart would be changed from a man's heart to a beast's heart, and 7 times would pass over him. And it doesn't say years, but we can apply the 360 days, which would be 7 times 360 days, which would be 7 years passed over the king of Babylon. He was unable to rule. He was unable to stand up in his kingdom and rule over it. So, since the king of Babylon pictures Satan, then we can also apply this to on a national scale, taking each year, each day within that year, and making it 1 year long. That prophecy is a prophetic formula given for us in the scriptures. When the Israelites spied out the land, they had 40 days, and they saw the giants and were afraid and did not trust in the Lord. So because of that, each day that they spied out the land, God punished them for 1 year for each day. So this prophetic formula, if applied to Daniel's prophecy, shows us how Satan, as the king of Babylon, was not able to rule over this kingdom, even though it is his kingdom over this entire span of time, 2,520 years. So the king of Babylon during this time has no heart. This verse says that his heart was changed from a man's heart, able to live and breathe and have life, to a beast's heart. So he's not a man. And he didn't stand on his feet. He crawled on the ground like a beast and pawed at the ground and ate the grass. So it's kind of similar to the sentence given to Satan, where he would crawl on the ground like a snake and eat dirt. So that is the comparison of time and prophecy and the kingdom which is being built. So when you look at Revelation 17 and you see that there are 5 kingdoms that are fallen. 1, 2, 3 would be Grecia. Okay, that is the belt. 4 would be Rome, which is the thighs of brass, as it is written. 5 would be the legs of iron, which is the Mohammedan rule over the country of Israel. After 1948, you have the feet forming. Now, since the people that rule over the land are from Revelation 2:9 and 3:9, and they are not true Judah as they claim, this would be continuing the time of the Gentiles. And the time of the Gentiles is the time that the Gentiles rule over Jerusalem, which is why this man was given a heart and he was given feet, as it is written in Daniel 7:4. See here in Daniel 7:4 that this is the first beast that Daniel saw rise up out of the sea. The sea is the multitudes of people and nations and multitudes. That's Revelation 17:15. The sea is not anything mysterious, it's just people. So the lion with the wings, like eagle's wings, represents America and Britain, which had control over Jerusalem from 1917. And they basically had their wings plucked. And they, the Zionists were able to obtain Palestine, and this gave the statue feet as a man. Remember, this is the same prophet that gave us the statue of Daniel. And a man's heart. So if you remember in Daniel 4:16, when the king of Babylon, his heart was taken away and he was given a beast's heart. So now we see a direct parallel that this control over this specific land is given a heart. It's given new life, the will and desires of the people that control it. And that raises the statue up and made to stand as a man. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is a number of a man. So this man is symbolizing the Gentile control, the time of the Gentiles. So if you want to understand the time of the Gentiles and how long that kingdom will last, you simply need to count or calculate the total given to this beast. Probe the number for its meaning, interpret it, and figure out the meaning. So we're going to start with the head down to the ankles and count that number. Start from the head and go down to the kneecaps or the lower thigh. Then you have 1,290 days. This is from Daniel chapter 12, verse 11. Now remember, there are 2 fulfillments of the 1290. There's the long-term fulfillment, which days equals years, and there's the short-term fulfillment, which is up and coming. And the interpretation is the same. And from the time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away. So what did the king of Babylon do? He took the daily sacrifice away. And the abomination that maketh desolate set up. So what happened right here when the abomination of desolation, what was set up at that time? Now, it's not the ultimate fulfillment. The ultimate fulfillment is the arrival of Antichrist. That's the short-term fulfillment. So we're going to be looking to see what occurred at this point at the kneecaps. And that would be 688 AD. 688 AD is when the Mohammedan rulers built the Dome of the Rock over the Sanctuary Temple Mount area. And that would fulfill the long-term fulfillment of 1,290 days given by Daniel. And also in the short-term fulfillment, it will also predict the arrival of the Antichrist, who is the ultimate abomination of desolation warned of by Jesus in Matthew 24, verse 15. So, but this video, we're looking at the long term and somewhat the short term. So when you look at Revelation 12 and 13, we also see a period of time called 42 months. 42 months is actually 1,260 days. The two time periods are equivalent to each other. So why would, the revelation of John say, "And the beast which I saw," now John saw this vision. This is a vision he saw on earth. This particular one was out of the sea, which is multitudes of people and nations. Revelation 17:15, it's not mysterious. So who are these people and nations that make up the leopard? Well, if we apply the 1,260 days given to us, then that in the long term would equal the exact amount of time the Mohammedan ruled over Jerusalem until the nation was born in 1948. So the leopard in Revelation is simply representing the countries and areas of the Arab Ishmael tribes and peoples. The leopard is the animal that resides in, the snow leopard especially has a neat pattern, looks like wings as it goes through the countries of Pakistan and Afghanistan and Uzbekistan, and all around that area is the home country of the leopard. So God is telling us through nature which people he is referring to. Now, Daniel predicted in two segments of time. Daniel 12:11 predicted the 1,290 days. And in Daniel 12:7, it says a time, and a half a time. Now, if you remember, a time is 360 days. So that would give us a total of 1,260 days. We also see the pattern that this leads up to the abomination of desolation being set up. And in this case, in the long-term prophecy, it is the Dome of the Rock. In the short-term prophecy, this time, which was 3.5 years, has been shortened. So we here see Daniel predicting exactly 2,550 years to the day from 604 BC. There is no gap in the statue of Daniel. There is the interpretation of the legs is being the fifth kingdom is the best interpretation, because it doesn't force the papal Rome, which never ruled over Jerusalem, and the Pope system as being the 10 toes. Papal Rome ended at the brass thighs. Papal Rome is one of the 4 heads that were split into 4 when Alexander, the belt of this beast, this man, Alexander's kingdom split into 4. And that's what this whole brass section represents, is Alexander and his kingdom. So we have Papal Rome as not being the legs of iron. Papal Rome are the thighs of iron. And when their rule ceased over Jerusalem and the Mohammedan came in, that is when they're cut off at the knees, or so to speak. So 688 is our focal point, and you add 42 months or 1,260 days brings you to 1948. And what happens in 1948? Is given feet, as it is written in Daniel 7:14. The wings are plucked, the wings no longer control it, and the new nation that is formed is not the return of the Jews as prophesied for the millennium. That is at the second advent when Christ returns. He gathers all the children of Israel, not just one tribe. He gathers them all and puts them back where they belong. So 1948 symbolizes a different return to the land of Israel. Not the true Judah return, but a different return. And these people come upon my land, the Lord says. This Jerusalem is his land. They are strong and without number, and whose teeth are the teeth of a lion. So if you recall, in Revelation chapter 12, we had the leopard, we had the bear, which came in 1922, the USSR, and then we had the mouth of the lion. So it's interesting that Joel is matching the prophecy of the lion, or the false lion. He has the cheek teeth of a great lion. So there's great focus on the mouth here, because what comes out of the mouth is words. And the words coming out from this land, from these people, are that they are the true return of true Judah, and that they are going to build the temple, and they are going to sacrifice or kill a red heifer, and they are going to purify the sins of the world, which that does not happen by man's hands. That already happened at 33 AD when Christ was crucified on the cross and rose again. But this nation, prophesied to come to pass in his land, hath laid my vine waste. That's what locusts do. And barked my fig tree. He made it clean bare and cast it away. That's what that nation is doing there. This is not the fulfillment of the millennium. The branches thereof are made white. There are 4 stages in this chapter of Joel: gnar, swarmer, devourer, consumer. And these stages, the stage of an average locust is about 17 years, not quite 19 years. But when you look at the desolations of Jerusalem, remember, focus on the land. It took 19 years for Nebuchadnezzar to completely take over Jerusalem after he took away the sacrifices and he took away the daily sacrifice. He took away the vessels of the temple. He took everything away. That took 19 years for him to finally burn the temple and destroy it. And then you have the other stages of the locust, when you overlay it, is a total of 76 years of locust swarming. And by the end of that, the land itself is going to be made clean bare. No fruit on the tree, and they will have trodden over the temple so much that the seed they were supposed to plant will be rotten in their shoes. So this 19-year cycle is also the cycle of the moon, and anything lunar, as we know, is symbolic of Satan and Satan's people. So 4 cycles brings the lunar phases of the moon to the same day of the solar sun year. And when they match, that's called, it's correcting the moon. The moon is being corrected to the solar day. Everything is reckoned by the sun. To get the self-same day, you have to go by the sun. So after 76 years, which is 4 cycles of 19, you have a more perfect cycle where the moon and its phases are closer to the day of the year than it was in 19 years. So it's interesting when you look at the long-term prophecy of 2,550 years, which is 1290 plus 1260. It has a time period where the moon is always running to catch up with the sun. It's always lagging behind by 11 days. And after 2,550 years, you want to know how much it's lagging behind? 76 years. That means when the moon comes in 76 years early and says, we have returned to the land, we are fulfilling prophecy, read your millennium scriptures, that is too early. You have to wait for the correction of the moon, the 76 years. You have to wait. Blessed is he who makes it to the 1335th day. So it's interesting, if you add 1335 to 1260, you almost come to You come to 75 plus this extra 30 days here brings you to 76. That brings you to the same time. Blessed is he who waits until that 1335th year. So, in conclusion to these things, we have Revelation 12 and Revelation 13 mentioning 42 months and giving that time for this beast to form, the leopard, the bear, and the mouth of the lion. And the mouth of the lion forms at the very end of that long term. And then it's given a time times and a half a times, which it happens to equal 76 years. So this time times and a half a time is the long-term fulfillment, 76 years. But the short-term fulfillment is where you take each year and make it equal to a day. That is the formula given to us by the scriptures, and which we apply gives us 76 days. So you have the time of the kingdom of Satan's people, and then you have Satan's de facto time himself. When he comes to rule, he does not come behind the scenes. He comes with a crown on his head. He does not come with his hands tied behind his back and blindfolded. He comes in power and authority, conquering and to conquer. So we must apply this to the 5 months. Applying it to the 5 months, we have the scripture verse, Revelation 8:1, when he opened the 7th seal. That's in your mind. It happens in your mind. It can happen right now. There was silence in heaven about the space of half an hour. This silence is also referred to as rejoicing in Revelation 12, when the angels rejoiced because Satan and his angels were kicked out of heaven. So when were they kicked out of heaven? Well, it wasn't the 5th trumpet because they were still in prison. They were locked up, and the only way to get out of prison is to unlock the prison with a key. Satan is given that key, and then in Revelation 9, verse 7 and 9, the horses are prepared to battle, and they run to battle, which is the war in heaven. This is the war of the ages. They have been locked up for tens of thousands of years, waiting for this very moment. Not waiting to hide behind the scenes. This is not a behind the scenes. It's in the spiritual dimension prophesied in Revelation 12, and they will be cast exactly as it is written in the 1290th day, which was also written by Daniel. So that is when they are cast from heaven, and they have 1 hour. The hour is a figure of speech for the time in which temptation is applied. So that is the prophetic figure of speech that is mentioned in Revelation chapter 3 for one of the churches. I will keep you from the hour of temptation because they are not tempted. So if you're not tempted, this hour doesn't really affect you. You find the abomination of desolation disgusting. But the silence in heaven here is not pure silence. The angels are actually rejoicing, as it is written in Revelation 12:12. They're rejoicing, but they say, woe to those on earth, because he has been cast out for that half hour, which happens to be half of 2.5 months is about 76 days, which also applies and is equivalent to the other prophetic formula given to us by the historical example of Jerusalem being taken over, 19 years, and 4 periods of locusts equals 76 years. So I hope you enjoyed that. That concludes my prophetic study video. Thank you.
When you shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. And I saw, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon.
Thus saith the Lord, Behold, a people cometh from the north country, and a great nation shall be raised from the sides of the earth. They shall lay hold on bow and spear. They are cruel, and have no mercy. Their voice roareth like the sea, and they ride upon horses, set in array, as men for war against thee, O daughter of Zion.
Go not forth into the field, nor walk by the way, for the sword of the enemy and fear is on every side. O daughter of my people, gird thee with sackcloth, and wallow thyself in ashes. Make thee mourning as for an only son, most bitter lamentation, for the spoiler shall suddenly come upon us. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand.